One of the biggest mistakes people fall into when using AI is forgetting to give it context. So you can use ChatGPT and say, hey, create me a blog post. But what is that blog post going to be about? It won't know what industry you're in, what images need to be included, what CTAs are going to be there, maybe even a form that you want to start generating leads. So the best way to do it is to start a chat by adding context to it. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So I'm working in Whoosy AI, which allows you to have this canvas style workspace that you can add any information that you want to and see it visually so you can understand what the AI is working on and what you have connected to it. So to start off, if I'm going to start this blog, one thing I might want to do is add a YouTube video. So I'll paste in the YouTube video here and I'll hit submit and it will connect it to this chat. Another thing I might want to bring in is a file. So if you have a brand and identity file that you want to bring in, you can pop that in here too so the chat can understand who it's talking to, what business it's talking to, and correlate its responses with that. Another thing that I like to bring in is a book. So maybe some Hermosi generating leads, right? So $100 million leads in here. I'll pop that down here. And now we're off to a pretty good start. So it's going to ingest this YouTube video transcript, understand what she's talking about. It's going to take in my brand identity and understand who I am and what my business is about. And then it's going to bring in this workbook by Alex Hormozi to bring in some of the best practices about how to apply it to the blog. One other thing that's really helpful is to add a persona. So we can go in here and click on personas. We can create a new persona by just saying, hey, you're a professional blog writer. And what Whoosy does on the back end is create this excellent prompt that instructs this persona to guide the chat as a professional blog or copywriter. I have one saved, so I'm going to go into my saved personas and just click on my blog and copyright strategist. So now I can start conversing with my chat and go back and forth to dial in what topics I should be talking about, what keywords are going to be used inside of these blogs. This is a great place to start to just mind map what you want to do and give AI information. Because once we are here and we say, I'm going to say I'm creating a blog and I'd like you to help me start the process. So I'll send that away and he's just going to give me a response. And it's going to ask me some questions. It's going to give me some insight on how to do this correctly, what the blog's going to be about, so we can direct this path for creating our very first blog post for how we're going to start gaining traction in Google SEO as well as GEO and AEO, which is just showing up inside of AI chats as responses. So Whozy's going to ask me some questions like, what is the primary purpose of this blog? What topics are we going to discuss? What keywords do you want to rank for? Who is your audience? Now, I can go back and forth in this chat and kind of get a little messy with, oh, I want to rank for these keywords, or this is my target audience. Or what I can do is answer the questions that I know. And for the ones I don't know, like what keywords do I want to use, I can add a branched chat. So this branched chat is connected to all the same documents, but what I'm going to use it for is asking, hey, what keywords should I be ranking for if this is my industry and this is what I want to talk about? And it'll go out and do the research for you. Now, the benefit to this is you won't be cluttering your initial chat with this overarching theme of the blog with, hey, what keywords should I rank for? So you can keep things very clean and organized inside of this Canvas style AI workspace. To keep yourself organized, you can also relabel any of the titles for any of these modules. So I can say this is my keyword chat, and then I can start conversing with it and say, what should I think about as far as keywords for a real estate agent in Boise, Idaho that wants to focus on things to do downtown? Now I'm going to get myself organized in this board really quick, and then I'll show you what we can do as far as images and video generation that will give our blog a cohesive feel and also get some imagery in there that's going to correlate with our different sections of the blog. The great thing about Whoosy is that we have the option to use different models inside of the same exact chat. So if I hit this drop down, we have our Whoosy and Whoosy Thinking model, as well as Gemini 3 Pro, ChatGPT, and Claude Sonnet. So if you're into AI, you know that ChatGPT is much better at thinking and deep research and understanding what's connected to your chat. But if we want to use something like Claude Sonnet, which is great for copywriting and understanding the instructions on how to structure a blog and the best way that Google can understand that blog based on its structure, we might want to use that. So for this case, I'm going to go ahead and bring in another chat. Okay, so I've set it to Claude. And now I'm going to highlight all of the elements that I want to attach to it, which are just going to be the same ones as the ChatGPT. And we're going to give it the same prompt. So write a real estate blog about things to do in downtown Boise. And we're going to let these run and then analyze the two responses for copywriting versus the deep thinking that ChatGPT does. So we can see here that Claude is searching, analyzing the documents that attach, and it's going to get us back a good response that's better copy than the ChatGPT response. So let's take a look at Claude and see how it did. We have our confirmation checklist. It's just something that's in one of those governing docs. but it has structured what our H2s are, what our H3s are. And this is great because Google likes to break down the structure of the blog and categorize it for SEO purposes. It's given us options of what we want for the headline, as well as the meta description that we're going to put into it. And then it gives us the H2s with their information below. Let's see how ChatGPT did answering the same question. So we have our strategy plan, our headline options. These are all of our H1s and H2s with a little blurb. You can see that the structure is a little different though, okay? So in one of my governing docs for Claude, it was able to break these into readable paragraphs. Maybe it used bullet points in some of them. Inside of ChatGPT, though, it focused more on the research that I did of what was in the governing docs. So it even brought in, hey, some social snippets that you might want to post for it. It did bring in the image ideas, which is in one of those documents. That gives us an image that we can attach to that section of the blog. So even with these two different responses, the best practice here is to combine the research that ChatGPT did with the copywriting that Claude did. And that's exactly why this canvas works so well, is because we can take a context block here, and I can copy and paste this entire blog into a context block. And then if I want to use Claude to write the copy that included a little bit of the deeper research that it did, I can connect this to the Claude AI chat box, and then it'll be informed with other information that ChatGPT did in that research for things to do in Boise. So let's say this blog is good to go. We're done tweaking it. If we want to take section 1 of it and say why downtown Boise is more than just a place to live. So I'm going to click on this branched chat, and I'm going to bring it just below this Claude chat, and I'm going to title it for section 1 image. And I will post in here the section 1 that we're working on with an image generation, and I will say generate an image. Okay, so this is a pretty good image for downtown Boise. So let's for this example just pull this image out of the box, and let's say change the sky to have clouds. And just in this little box, it's going to change that blue sky to have a couple of clouds in there. And for this example, I'm just showing you what can be done inside of even just an image generator, where you click on the nano banana and want to change or tweak just a few small things that are inside of the photo itself. So let me blow this up. So when it's done generating, we can see kind of what it did. And now we have a more rustic looking version of this photo that has some clouds in the background, just to bring in that ambiance of what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this and show you another easy way to be able to set up the images for your blog. I'm gonna bring in a new chat, and I'll just say this one is blog images. And what we're gonna do is the same exact thing. So what kind of books can we use that will help us with photography? Landscape photography. That looks like a good one. I'll bring that in. I'm also going to bring in a persona that's going to be, let's just use the luxury real estate photo specialist. So we have a professional photographer along with this. I'm going to select on the image generation feature here. And then what I can do is just pop up to my original Claude blog that we decided we're going to use. And I can start copying and pasting each one of these sections to have an image. So the next one, I'm going to click on Boise Art Museum and Gallery, and I'll bring that down to my prompt, paste it in there. And for each section, what I'm going to do on repeat is just go up, grab the next section for my blog, come back down, and while it's generating this, I'll just put this prompt into the box and wait for it to finish this image before I send off this next prompt. And what we'll get is images for every single section that we can just copy and paste, download, and bring over to our blog. So that section was on Freak Alley, and now we have a pretty awesome image generated for Freak Alley. And what we can do with this is say, hey, maybe we want this in a 1920 by 1080. So it is vertical right now, which is great for Instagram and socials. But if we do want it in 1920 by 1080, we can just ask the box to say, hey, change this to a portrait landscape instead of a vertical landscape. Now I'm going to show you the full board as a quick breakdown for what we did. We initially started off in our chat saying, hey, we want to build this blog. What is it going to be about? And attach it to these files that were up here, as well as our governing documents to give it a little bit more context and information about what we were trying to do. Then we created this chat and attached it to all the same things, except we switched it to Claude Sonnet because it was better for copywriting. Then we brought in a context element, which was all of the deep research that ChatGPT did when we asked it to create a blog, and we connected it to our Claude chat. And then the next thing we did was create the images with a branched chat, which is where this conversation came from. And then I showed you guys how to do it without creating a branch chat, so you can only connect it to the things that are pertinent information, like this persona who helps the image create lifelike style aesthetic photos. as well as this book, which is like, hey, if you're going to do landscape photography, you might want to use some of these best practices that are inside of it. And when this is all done, what I like to do when I'm almost finished with my blog is take the revised version of it and copy it, put it into a context element, and then I will run this against a peer review. So I'll bring in a new chat. I will connect the context to it. I will also add my persona of the blog content writer and strategist. And then the last thing I'd like to do is bring in a YouTube video of, hey, if you're going to write a blog for SEO, AEO, GEO, is bring in that exact YouTube video. So I pop over to YouTube and I find that video that I want to use and I click on it.
Subscribe is how you stop.
I'll go to the top and click the URL address, pop back into Whoosy, click on this YouTube module here and paste the address. And this is cool because you actually get to watch the video inside of Whoosy if you'd like. Essentially what it's doing is taking the transcript and using it inside of the chat. So my message here is going to say, hey, I want you to take what's inside this context block, or we can rename it to blog 1, rewrite it using the persona module, and compare it to the best practices inside of the YouTube video. And then what it's going to give me back is basically a peer-reviewed blog that says, hey, this is where you're kind of lacking in things suggested in the YouTube transcript, and hey, here are things that you're doing really well. And what I'll do when this is done generating is I'll read through it, copy and paste it into my blog, add my images that I already created for it, and then I will hit publish, and we're done for the day. This is what I found to be the quickest way to visualize everything that I'm looking at. Make sure that my assistants are doing the correct job with all the information that they're provided, and I can get a blog post done and out the door in 30 minutes, which usually would have taken me half of a day to do. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, and I will see you on the next one.